Hi, this is Virginia, astrologer and holistic healer. And when people ask me what does that mean, I'm a therapist and an acupuncturist, hence the holistic astrologer. And today we're going over the highlight of the week, which is the summer solstice with the sun ingress in Cancer, which will shape the energy of the whole season until the next equinox on the fall. The summer solstice is when the sun reaches the zenith at the Tropic of Cancer, the highest point in the sky. So there's a sensation of being on top of the world, and it's the longest day in the year in the northern hemisphere, driving expansion, and the opposite is in the south. Until now, the days were growing, so we reach a turning point where the days grow shorter, and we enter the season of winding down. We go on vacation or staycation, or we take time off. But still, daytime trumps nighttime, where we're more extrovert until the fall equinox. Now, Cancer is the sign of the animal that lives in the home, and it rules the fourth house of home and family and roots. So the sun is illuminating the Cancer zone of the zodiac that is all about bringing us home, wherever that is, where we can rest and recoup and where we can take a break. Cancer is the cardinal water sign that starts the summer in the northern hemisphere, and that's a time when the children are back home from school and we go to the beach where the crab is. For the southern hemisphere is the opposite, and we have the winter holidays, which are much shorter, but the energy is the same. Cancer is ruled by the moon, which rules the tides, and the symbol of Cancer are two opposing waves representing the ever-changing nature of the moon and water, and we are 70% water, so we can be a little bit moody and a little bit crabby. And the sun is an exact sextile with Chiron, the wounded healer. And the myth of Chiron was that he was a soldier wounded by friendly fire, to add insult to injury. Because to the physical wound, now we had to add the emotional wound of betrayal. And he was a healer and a teacher, but because he was a minotaur, half beast, half man, he couldn't heal himself. And he was also a god, condemned to eternal life, therefore eternal pain. But he found a way to his oxymoron, and the way he forgot about his pain was by licking everybody's wound. And eventually he sacrificed his own immortality so he could finally rest in peace. So this speaks about the ultimate sacrifice. But Chiron will retrograde in August and go back in Aries in September before moving forward again in January and entering Taurus for good next spring, where it will remain for the next 8 years, where it will change the collective values and shift our priorities, which at this point is a much needed change. The sun, representing our soul in a harmonious aspect with Chiron, points to an opportunity to heal our wounds. And as they say it in psychotherapy school, everybody has some kind of trauma, with big T or small t, but trauma nevertheless, because pain is a common denominator of the human experience. And now that Chiron is fresh in Taurus, the sign of values, self-worth, possessions, and income, we're all getting the opportunity to deal and work with self-limiting beliefs, insecurities, and money-related issues. Now, Chiron takes about 50 years around the sun, and previous Chiron in Taurus coincided with economic stress in history, from the Great Depression to stagflation and recessions, where people had to find alternative and creative ways to deal with limitations, which expanded their sense of community. They started bartering and turning towards self-sufficiency and recycling instead of discarding. And we can already see a trend back into homesteading with all the poisoning on our foods and community living, and slow down in the consumerism as well as upcycling in the name of the environment. And the moon, ruler of the solstice, representing our emotional life, is in Virgo. Virgo, the archetype, is the nurse, which points to both healing and service to others, and is in a sextile, which is a positive aspect, with Mercury, the messenger of the gods, also in Cancer, bringing good news, and approaching Jupiter, the great benefic, which is exalted in Cancer. So overall, this energy is geared towards healing and caring for each other with an emphasis of feeling at home, wherever that is and whomever that is with. Now in the background we have a double cradle formed by 4 mini trines between the outer planets, the Sun, Chiron, and the nodes of fate, and the Moon, Mercury, and Mars. So these cradles point to the care that we're giving to new life, to new beginnings, that we are to nurture in order to manifest in our lives. This energy will be felt more by the cardinal signs because these influence the angles in your chart. So for Cancer is in your first house of self and identity. For Capricorn, it will be in your 7th house of significant others and partnerships. For Aries, this will influence your 4th house of home, family, and roots. And for Libra, this will influence your 10th house of career and reputation. Now, this energy will be in an easy flow to the other water signs. For Pisces, will influence your area of creativity, recreation, and procreation, basically your house of love and fun. And for Scorpio, this will fall in your 9th house of foreign travel, higher education, teaching, basically your house of expansion where the world is your oyster. For Taurus, this will fall in your 3rd house of communication, peers, and learning, and everything online. For Gemini, this will be in your 2nd house of values, self-worth, possessions, and income. For Leo, this will be in your 12th house of mental health, rest and recoup, and spirituality. For Virgos, this will fall in your 11th house of friends and acquaintances, network, and community. And for Sagittarius, it will fall in your 8th house of trust, intimacy, and shared resources and other people's money. And for Aquarius, this will fall in your 6th house of health and routines, work, and service pets or pets. I always recommend to take into consideration your big three, your sun, moon, and rising, for a more complete picture on how this will show up in your life. And if you don't know them, I made a free guide to teach you how to cast your chart and find them out. The link is below. At the moment, I'm open for readings and healing and therapy sessions, so if you're interested, follow the links. And I made an astrology certification course both for healers and astro lovers, that is a 2-for-1, because I teach the foundations of astrology and how you can bridge that knowledge into a healing practice. And that has been approved for 10 continuing education units by the Acupuncture Board. So even if you don't need the credits, you know that this course is recognized. And at the moment is in sale. I also made a sound healing instructional guide with tuning forks full of informations and secrets to learn how to use planetary tuning forks based on the cosmic octaves of the planets and how to apply them on acupoints for somatic and energy work. I put a lot of work into it, so I highly recommend it, and it's only $27, and all links are below. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.